Hey guys, Derek and Jeremy back here talking to you tonight. We did web series part one. We did the myth of prostitution being the oldest profession, and tonight we want to talk to you about one of our initiatives, one of our four initiatives that we're really pushing here. And tonight's topic is accountability. And I don't even pretend to be an expert on this one, so I'm going to have a lot of dumb questions, and hopefully Derek's going to bring us all up to speed on exactly what our goal is with this and how we're trying to come across with this. So I think the first question we all have for you, Derek, is what do we mean by accountability? Because when I first heard this and when you were talking about it, I was like, okay, we keep each other accountable. Cool, awesome. But that's not what we're talking about, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one, it's good to know that when talking about anti-demand strategies and initiatives, accountability is the one that most often is associated with what ending the demand looks like or what combating the demand looks like. And essentially what that is that accountability is increasing the risk and penalties for buyers of prostituted people. So it's putting it's making it riskier and more of a legal issue for people who want to go out and pay for a prostituted person.
And
so
what is that? Oh,
yeah.
sorry. What does that end up looking like right now, Derek? I mean, are we not, like, I know, if somebody gets caught, there is some kind of punishment. There's some kind of, they get arrested or what that looks like. But I'm guessing because we want to increase this, we want to make it stronger, that it's kind of low right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting that, prostitution has always been illegal in the United States, except for, of course, the one county in Nevada. But we haven't been treating it the same way as far as those who have been prostituted and those who are buying. Typically what's happened is that the buyers of prostituted people have almost kind of gotten, been treated kind of almost like with immunity, like there has not been, they get a little, slap on the hand and, hey, don't let me catch you out here again kind of thing. While the prostituted person is the one who's being arrested, going to jail, has fines, has to go to classes, all of that. So for the longest time, the buyer demand was, legally speaking, kind of not seen as a big deal.
Okay. And we know it's not effective to just arrest the prostituted person because they're just replaceable. They're just going to find another person to bring in. But so if we want to hold them more accountable, so how do we go about doing that? What are the current fines or things that happen, and where should they be, or what does that look like?
This is too where every state and local municipality does it differently. There is no uniform way that each state or city goes about this. There are definitely places like Florida. I know we were talking about recently, Jeremy, where Florida has begun to increase the penalties and the risk for buyers, and seeing that is a key strategy to combat demand, and that because the demand is the driving force behind sex trafficking, it makes sense that we would want to, increase the penalties there. But not everybody does it the same way. And then even if you have increased laws where again, it's treating the demand as a serious issue, it's still, you've got to educate judges, you got to educate attorneys. It's just effective.
Yeah. So are there ways that we can make this more effective? Because I feel like, as I'm hearing this, like you're saying, states, I mean, so it sounds like one of the shortcomings we might have with this, if we don't do this kind of globally, what happens? What are some of the shortcomings if we, like Florida, we make the laws much stricter? What happens then? What does that do to the demand in Florida?
Yeah, well, the reason why I think this is the most popular kind of anti-demand strategy is one, it's probably, it seems like it's the most direct, it's
right.
Directly targeted to the buyers and letting buyers know, hey, we're gonna treat this serious. Now, the idea behind it, of course, is that it would that the buyers would not want to buy when it's risky. You know, if they know that they're not just going to get a little slap on the hand, and, you know, don't let me catch you out here kind of again type of deal, but that they could, you know, go to jail, that they could pay a serious fine, that they could, you know, their face might be in the paper, that kind of thing. You know, they're not going to buy in that area. Now, of course, this is why a holistic approach to ending demand is important, because this won't end demand globally. It'll just kind of redirect, you know,
Right.
demand that, or it might cool it down for a little while until it's safer um, for people to buy. So that's essentially, you know, the idea and strategy behind it is that it would dissuade active buyers from buying.
Okay. So we would need more of a global kind of, or a national strategy to kind of stop people from, oh, I'm going to get in trouble in Florida, that not just going to Georgia or the next state or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, you know, and I think if we can think on the local level, though, it can be very encouraging. And you and I were talking about this actually in our first episode too. Like, if we're looking global, it can be overwhelming. But if we
Yeah.
look just within our own sphere of influence, and if we look in our own city or town, we do actually have a lot of influence with what the laws are, you know, how laws are prosecuted. Law enforcement responds to what communities say, hey, we care about this, you know, we prioritize this, and we want the buyer demand to be prosecuted at a higher level. You know, change will happen. And what's exciting to me about that is that local communities then can kind of take ownership for their own area and let buyers know that, hey, it's not safe to buy here, you know, and that can hopefully then be contagious as other towns and cities are successful in doing that. That can then spread to other areas.
Awesome. That's a great point. Yeah, I got a little off track there, but is there anywhere that they've done this well? That is any examples where they're kind of pushing forward with this?
It's interesting how different countries kind of came at this from different angles. And I would say on both sides, though, even though, you know, because there are some countries that went and legalized prostitution,
Right.
and then Sweden decriminalized the selling of prostitution, but criminalized the buying of it. So they again, very smart, I think, a lot of wisdom, where they basically did the reverse of like what most of the world was doing, which was criminalizing the prostituted people, who most often were victims, and letting the buyers go free. Sweden said, no, let's switch that up, and let's actually put all the responsibility on the buyer, and then provide services to those who are selling themselves in prostitution or being sold. You know, so if they're being victimized, let's provide safe havens for them. What's interesting, though, is that other countries, though, you know, went a different direction and said, well, let's just legalize prostitution.
Yeah.
And the idea there was, again, to reduce harm. So that was the philosophy behind it. And of course, we hear this argument a lot too. This is also, I would call it somewhat of a myth, or just not necessarily a myth, but it's a flawed idea.
Yeah.
And that is that if you legalize prostitution, you can then, you know, make it safe for everyone. The countries that have actually done that, sex trafficking has not decreased but increased in areas where it's legal, to where prostitution is legal. And that makes a lot of sense. In Sweden, sex trafficking declined because buyers are like, hey, it's not safe to buy here. You know?
Yep.
Like, so pimps and traffickers are like, hey, that's not a very good market for us, because the buyers, you know, they're going to the places where it's legal to buy prostituted people, you know. So
Right. Well, it's simple economics, right?
yeah,
I mean, it's just if it's legal for men to buy in a certain place, you're going to draw more men there. You're going to need more supply, and it's going to force you to traffic more women and children. It's just, that's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
So
those who advocate for legalizing prostitution don't understand that the primary way that people get involved in prostitution is through recruitment and grooming.
Right.
And that again, the average age of entry into prostitution is 12 to 14 years old. And legalizing prostitution does not change that reality.
No.
So pimps and traffickers aren't going to, okay, it's legal now, so now I'm going to try to recruit an adult woman into prostitution. No, they're going to continue to recruit children, and legalizing prostitution doesn't change that one bit, but it does give a pimp or a trafficker a business card.
It's terrible. So I think what we're talking about is we were looking at this and what can people do to help increase accountability. I think you touched on some of that with like the local level. We can talk to our local elected officials. We can talk to our local law enforcement. We can say, hey, this is important to us. How can we go about changing this and enacting this in our local neighborhoods? Is there any other points, any other ways that us as individuals can try to start impacting this?
Yeah, one thing that we're really excited about to do at Abolition Men is to join either an existing human trafficking task force, but have an anti-demand initiative to that, or create a task force in the area that's focused on combating demand. And for us, we want to pilot kind of like the anti-demand task force, which can bring the community together, can bring attorneys, judges, advocates, everyone kind of together to begin to create accountability for what it would look like in that city or local town. Knowing that no one's going to do it exactly the same way.
Right.
So that's why it's important to bring people together in local towns and cities so that people can kind of come up with their own solution for that. But once you get people together in a room and you're working together, then, solutions will present themselves.
That's awesome, Derek.
And then, of course, joining the Abolition Men community, that's something that's so important because together we're stronger. And so if we can have a community of people that is continually growing and building enthusiasm and energy and is unified in what we're thinking, then our ability to then make changes, just increases tenfold.
Yeah. That's awesome, Derek. I think we got a lot of good information tonight. Do you have anything else to close on there, or?
No, obviously this is just one of 4 initiatives.
Yeah.
Some people get really excited about this one. Other people, not excited at all. And it can be somewhat controversial because, there are some people that, again, well, let's just legalize it, not, increase penalties. But that's why the 4 initiatives together are so important.
Yeah.
And so don't just listen to this one. Especially, hey, if you're excited about accountability and you think we should be, increasing the penalties on buyers and letting buyers know, hey, if you do that, you're going to pay for it in our area, then that's great. But if there's something else that you think is important, or, have a different idea of what could be done to combat demand, please listen to our other episodes, because we're going to be touching it. And I promise, I can't fully promise, but I'm willing to bet that out of the 4, there's going to be 1 or 2 that get you really excited. And then you'll also get to see how all 4 of them work together and are the way that we can actually end demand.
Thanks, Derek.
This is good. We'll see you guys for our 3rd episode of the series, where we're going to be talking about interventions. That's actually the next strategy. And hopefully, too, that through this, through each of these initiatives, we are debunking the myth that ending the demand is impossible. That there's just no way that we can do it, and we just have to accept it for what it is. The truth is that, if we prioritize ending the demand, we can definitely end it. So, all right, talk to you guys later.